Web 3.0 means semantic web, which means the web that processes the meaningless information available on the World Wide Web and makes sense out of it, make more meaningful based on the data it collects from the internet. So in other words, Web 3.0 is the opposite of my wife. No, just kidding. But for some reason, recently Web 3.0 is related to the blockchain internet. Blockchain means distributed databases or distributed services or distributed ledgers. Currently, all the data we share is stored in central servers or big server farms owned by large corporations such as Google or Facebook. But the blockchain internet proponents say that our data should not be owned by Google, Facebook, or big corporations because the blockchain internet means there is no central server. Each computer can act as a server, each computer can act as a database, and each computer can act as a ledger. So basically we eliminate the intermediaries and we eliminate the middleman. Now, let's go over if this concept is suitable for human nature, human biology, and consumer psychology. The first proposition of Web 3.0 is consumers hate intermediaries. Consumers hate the middleman. Is this true? Well, I hate the middleman during the summer barbecues because they get to eat the best part of the meat and give me the burned part of the meat. No, I'm just kidding, obviously. But it's not necessarily true that humans always hate intermediaries. As a matter of fact, in developed countries, 70% of the economy is the service industry, and the service industry is mostly consists of the intermediaries. Consumers hate the middleman, consumers hate the intermediaries if they increase the financial risk, psychological risk, or physical risk. But if these middlemen decrease the financial risk or psychological risk, consumers love them. For example, for you, it's way more convenient and easy to get your potato from the supermarket rather than directly getting it from a farmer in Idaho. So what about the financial transactions? So people may say, well, I don't want the banks to be in the middle when I'm sending or receiving money. But the fact is, if I have to find someone to write a smart contract, and if I have to pay gas fee for this transaction, I don't think it's more convenient. Right now, I can send money internationally on Payoneer, and it takes only a few minutes, and the person can get it right away. And we cannot say consumers always hate intermediaries. This is not true. Another concept is anonymity, and the Web3 proponents claim that people always prefer to be private because the proposition of Web 3.0 is your transactions on the internet cannot be tracked easily. Well, to be honest, I don't want my internet transactions to be monitored, especially by my wife. But do people always want to be anonymous? For example, there was a popular app called Yik Yak, which was even more popular than Facebook and Twitter on college campuses, and it only had one point, which was you were anonymous. So the users were anonymous. But the universities soon realized that when people were anonymous, they act in a more uncivilized way, and the criminal behavior, bullying, increased dramatically, and most universities banned the app, and now probably no one knows about Yik Yak. For instance, studies after September 11 show that people were perfectly fine with sacrificing their civil liberties if they believe their safety and security will be increased. People like anonymity, but safety and security are stronger human urges. So we cannot say people will just say, oh, I want to be anonymous. I don't care if the terrorists can easily exchange money and information. So that's not. The concept we have to argue is the decentralization. And if it's human nature to be decentralized all the time, to prefer decentralization over centralization. First of all, most blockchain technologies are decentralized, but not democratically distributed. So centralized means there's one central point. One central node that controls everything has the most power. Decentralized doesn't mean each node has equal power. Decentralized means there may be multiple clusters and there may be multiple central points. And distributed means it's perfectly decentralized and each node has equal power. For instance, in decentralized networks, the node that's far from one of the clusters has very little power, and the cluster centers have the most amount of power. Blockchains work with community token. The protocol developers, the early investors get a lot of community tokens, and they control control everything. For instance, when you buy some certain tokens, there's a pool of money that belongs to the protocol, and those community token owners can decide what to do with the money, not you. Recently, Jack Dorsey sent out an email saying that Web 3.0 is not democratic, and he was strongly against some powerful investors in Silicon Valley having most of the shares in these Web 3.0 tech. The point is, if decentralization is human nature, if I randomly take 200 people and drop them on an island, I can guarantee that they will have certain clusters. There's going to be some centralization, because if everything is decentralized, the cost of information exchange, the cost of coordination increases dramatically. When these networks are so big, the cost of exchange will be so high, and that's why right now cost of exchange on Bitcoin is very high, because these are very large networks. As a matter of fact, when the World Wide Web came out, it was not like today. It was similar to blockchain. There were no central servers, there are no large corporations that control the data or owned our data. But Microsoft introduced Hotmail, and some other corporations introduced more convenient services, and then it became more centralized. In the past 10,000 years, there's probably no successful entity or organization or corporation function properly without a leader or without a central point. And you may ask, okay, how about Wikipedia or GitHub or BitTorrent or even World Wide Web? The fact is, Wikipedia is not run by the community. Wikipedia has a CEO who gets paid around $500,000, and GitHub is owned by Microsoft, and BitTorrent was kind of run by the community, but it was the hotbed of Trojan attacks and hacking attempts and many illegal activities. And the World Wide Web, it has thousands of rules and regulations. So if Web 3.0 will have thousands of rules and regulations, then it's no different from Web 2.0 or Web 1.0. When you exchange information or money on the blockchain, so no one has a liability, and these transactions are reversible. If you make a mistake, you cannot get your money back. So if something goes wrong, no one takes the responsibility. Or if you lose your password, your money is gone forever. From the consumer behavior perspective, this may not be preferred by a lot of consumers, because no one has a liability and there's no court to dispute the problems or the differences. And most consumers prefer to pay a commission and sacrifice their anonymity to reduce the risk that they may face when exchanging information or money on the blockchain. No liability on the blockchain goes against human nature. Ethereum is mostly run by people who hold community tokens and also the algorithm. So we know that humans may be subjective, humans may be clumsy, and humans may tamper the data, but we also know that these algorithms are written by humans, and people would not be comfortable with relying solely on an algorithm. And there are many examples. For example, last year in the United Kingdom, there was a huge backlash against an algorithm which decided students' grade, and eventually they dropped out the method. A blockchain platform lost $750 million just a few days because there was a problem with the algorithm. And we also know there are so many discussions about the ethics of the artificial intelligence, so we can conclude that humans are not so cool with just relying on algorithm, or humans prefer being judged by an algorithm rather than being judged by a human being. So that's not true. One other concept we have to think about is technology adoption. Currently, so many people in the world don't have bank accounts, and some people may propose that the blockchain will democratize the financial world. We also have to understand that most of these people do not know how to write and read, and we have to understand that you need computer literacy and digital literacy to manage the blockchain accounts or the financial accounts on Web 3.0. Even in developed countries, the majority of the people do not own cold wallet. Even in developed countries, the majority of people don't know how to write a contract. We cannot say, oh, blockchain technology is more convenient or easier than the traditional financial systems, and that's why it will be adopted more easily in underdeveloped countries. That argument doesn't make any sense. Lastly, we have to talk about human nature. In humanitarian societies, people believe human nature is positive, humans are good, humans are nice, and most of the Web 3.0 proposals proponents believe that developers or coders will not manipulate these systems, or the participants or community token holders will not take advantage of the loopholes in the system. But this also has to be thought about, because it's difficult to believe these coders and developers will develop these protocols and platforms for months, for years, and then will not get any benefit out of it. It's just difficult to believe. And if you look at the recent hack, so many times only half of the money is stolen and half of it is returned back, and so many times the hackers are actually rewarded or not punished. So that raised a lot of red flag and question marks. So we also have to think about human nature, and the Web 3.0 can operate in a, to sum up, I believe the blockchain or peer-to-peer information exchange is the future of the internet, but there are a lot of issues that go against the basics of human nature and human psychology. Thank you so much for joining us today, and so see you guys later, and see you. Bye bye.